There comes a moment in life when you feel a restlessness that you cannot name, a subtle ache in the heart, a quiet whisper from somewhere you had forgotten. That whisper is not from the world, it is from your own soul, and it is calling you to wake up. You have been asleep for so long, not the sleep of the body, but the sleep of awareness. You walk, you work, you speak, you chase dreams, yet somewhere deep inside, you remain unattended, untouched, unawakened. And unless that inner flame is lit, no amount of success will feel like fulfillment. The soul awakens when you stop running from yourself and start listening to the silence within. But most people spend their whole lives running from their fears, running from their wounds, running from their own reflection. They hide behind busyness, behind noise, behind endless goals that keep them distracted. To stop, even for a moment, feels dangerous. When you pause, the mind knows that everything you've buried will rise. So it keeps you moving, keeps you chasing, keeps you restless. And without knowing, you drift farther and farther away from the one place where your soul has been waiting. Inside you, there is a deep exhaustion that comes from this constant running. Not the tiredness of the body, but the tiredness of the spirit. A heaviness that you can't explain. A loneliness that remains even when you're surrounded by people. A quiet sense that something essential is missing. That emptiness is not a sign of weakness. It is the soul calling you back. It is a silent invitation to stop escaping and finally turn inward. The moment you stop running, even for a breath, you feel something shift. A stillness, a trembling, a soft awareness rising from the depths. It's almost unfamiliar because you have forgotten how silence feels. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of your own being. It is where the soul speaks in a language that has no words, through intuition, through clarity, through a sense of knowing that feels older than time. But listening to the silence within is not easy. The first thing you encounter is noise, the noise of your own mind. Thoughts rush in like a storm, memories you never healed, regrets you never faced, fears you never named. They come with intensity, as if they've been waiting behind a locked door. Do not fight them. Do not run again. Just watch, gently, patiently. Watching without judgment is the key, because when you watch, you are no longer inside the thought, you become the witness. And the moment you become the witness, the mind loses its power over you. It quiets slowly, softly, and beneath that quiet, something sacred begins to reveal itself. A subtle energy, a presence, a warmth. It is your soul waking up. It comes like a faint whisper at first, a delicate feeling in the chest, a sense of returning home. And the more you listen, the stronger it becomes. This listening, this deep inner listening, is what transforms you. When you stop searching outside and tune into the silence within, you discover a wisdom that has been guiding you all along. You realize that every answer you ever looked for was already there, waiting behind the noise. In that silence, you meet yourself without masks, without roles, without the pressure to be anything other than what you truly are. And there is a freedom in this meeting, a freedom so profound that the soul begins to glow. You feel clearer, lighter, more alive. It's as if life gains a new color, a new depth, a new meaning. Nothing has changed outside, yet everything feels different inside, because awakening does not come from the world. It comes from your willingness to be present with yourself, to sit with your truth, to breathe into the spaces you once avoided. With each moment of inner listening, you peel away another layer of conditioning. You release another fear. You reclaim another part of your essence. Take a deep breath. Feel the space within you, that quiet, vast space where your soul lives. In that pause, in that moment of pure presence, awakening begins. When you listen deeply, when you dare to be with yourself fully, the soul does not whisper anymore. It rises, it expands, it blooms, it becomes your guide, your anchor, your light. Awakening is not an achievement. It is a remembering of what has always been alive in you. Yet most people chase awakening as if it were a trophy, a destination, a badge of spiritual success. They imagine that one day, after sufficient struggle, after enough discipline, they will suddenly become enlightened, transformed into someone extraordinary. But the truth is far more simple and far more profound. Awakening is not about becoming something new. It is about recognizing what you have always been. It is the art of remembering, not attaining. There is a place within you that has never been touched by fear, never been wounded by the world, never been shaped by opinions or expectations. A quiet, radiant center, pure, whole, untouched. You were born with it. You lived from it as a child, freely, spontaneously, joyfully. But as life unfolded, layers were added. Layers of conditioning, of doubt, of rules and responsibilities. And slowly, you drifted away from your own essence. Not because it disappeared, but because it became covered, like sunlight hidden behind thick clouds. Awakening is simply the moment when those clouds begin to part. It does not happen through force. It does not happen through ambition. It happens through remembering, a subtle, gentle recognition that the light you have been searching for has always been shining within you. And this remembering comes like a soft wave, not loud, not dramatic, but deeply intimate. It feels like coming home after a long journey, like recognizing a familiar fragrance from childhood, like meeting your own soul after years of separation. But why does it feel so difficult? Because the mind has been trained to believe that worth must be earned, that growth must be hard, that peace must be fought for. So when you are told that awakening requires no effort, the mind becomes confused. It resists. It wants techniques, definitions, steps, guarantees. It cannot understand that the most important truths are already present. Waiting patiently beneath the noise, pause for a moment and feel this. There is a part of you, right now, in this very breath, that is aware. That awareness is your awakening. That gentle presence witnessing these words, that is the remembering. You don't have to create it, you simply notice it. Awakening begins when you stop searching for yourself outside. People look for meaning in relationships, in wealth, in achievements, in approval. They try to decorate their emptiness instead of understanding it. They chase experiences to distract themselves from the quiet truth within. But every search outward ends in exhaustion, because what you truly seek cannot be found in the world. It can only be revealed in your own being. And inside you the truth is waiting, softly, patiently, like a forgotten melody that returns when the world becomes quiet enough. As you turn inward, memories of who you really are begin to surface. Not memories of events, but memories of essence. Memories of joy without reason, peace without effort, love without fear. These memories are imprinted in your very being. They have never left you, you only stop listening. Awakening feels like the heart opening after years of being guarded, like the mind loosening its grip, like the soul rising from sleep. There is a tenderness in this process, a delicate unfolding. You begin to see life differently, not because life has changed, but because you have removed the fog from your eyes. You begin to sense a connection with existence, an intimacy with every breath, every sound, every ray of light. And with each moment of clarity, you remember more. You remember that you are not your thoughts. They come and go. You are not your emotions. They rise and fall. You are not your past. It has already dissolved. You are not your roles. They shift with time. You are the awareness behind all of it. The space, the presence, the witness, and this presence has never been absent. Not for a single moment. It is alive, breathing, glowing at the center of your being. Take a deep breath. Slowly, feel that presence. Feel that aliveness. Feel that ancient truth stirring within you. The mind sleeps in noise. Consciousness rises in stillness. Yet most people live inside a constant storm of noise. External noise, internal noise, emotional noise, mental noise. Noise has become their comfort, their distraction, their escape. They fill every moment with something. Conversations, screens, music, thoughts, worries, plans. They fear stillness because stillness exposes what they have avoided. But in that very avoidance, the mind remains dull, mechanical, half asleep. When you drown in noise, you move through life like a shadow, functioning but not truly alive. Noise is seductive because it gives an illusion of life. It keeps you occupied, busy, entertained, but beneath that busyness you lose the ability to hear your own being. The mind becomes cluttered, chaotic, restless. It jumps from one thought to another like a monkey leaping from branch to branch, and in all this movement, in all this agitation, awareness disappears. You become so identified with the noise that you forget the silent space in which the noise happens. You forget yourself. Still. S, on the other hand, feels terrifying to the mind. When everything goes quiet, when your thoughts begin to slow, when your emotions begin to settle, the mind panics, because silence takes away the distractions it uses to avoid itself. Silence reveals the truth. Silence brings you face to face with your own fears, your own wounds, your own reality. That's why the mind resists it. That's why people run from it. But the soul longs for it. Let the noise settle for just a moment, and notice what rises beneath it. Stillness is not empty. It is full of presence, full of depth, full of a consciousness that has been waiting to surface. When you enter stillness, something magical happens. Awareness awakens, not through effort, but through relaxation, through surrender, through allowing yourself to simply be without trying to become. In noise, the mind is asleep. In stillness, something beyond the mind wakes up. Consciousness is not thought. It is not emotion. It is not the voice inside your head. Consciousness is the silent witness behind all of it. It is the awareness that watches your thoughts come and go, that observes your emotions rise and fall. But to experience this, you must first taste stillness. Imagine sitting by a lake. When the water is constantly disturbed, ripples, waves, movement, you cannot see the reflection of the sky. But when the water becomes still, perfectly still, suddenly the reflection appears crystal clear. Stillness does not create the sky, it simply reveals it. In the same way, consciousness has always been inside you. Stillness just removes the distortion so you can see it. There is a profound power in a moment of silence, a gap between thoughts. In that tiny gap, awareness shines. In that gap, the mind is no longer controlling you. You are watching it. And the more you slip into these gaps, the more your consciousness expands. You begin to feel alive in a way you never knew before. You begin to sense the subtle rhythm of existence, the quiet pulse of life that is always beating beneath the noise. But to enter stillness, you must be willing to let go. Let go of distractions, let go of compulsive thinking, let go of the need to constantly do. You must learn to sit with yourself without running, without escaping, without filling the space. And when you do, something extraordinary unfolds. The heart softens, the mind loosens, the breath deepens, and a quiet clarity rises from within. This clarity is consciousness. This silence is awakening. In stillness, you no longer feel separate from life. You no longer feel lost or afraid or disconnected. You feel rooted, anchored, aware. You feel the presence of something vast and sacred moving through you. And once you taste it, even for a moment, you realize that nothing in the world can compare to the peace that silence brings. Sit for a moment. Close your eyes. Feel the stillness behind your breath. Feel the awareness beneath your thoughts. This is where consciousness lives. This is where your true self awakens. You wake up the soul by dropping everything borrowed, beliefs, fears, identities, and returning to your own essence. But most people live their entire lives wearing what others have handed to them. They carry beliefs that were never questioned, fears that were never theirs, identities shaped by family, society, religion, culture. Layer upon layer, these borrowed masks become so heavy that the true self disappears beneath them. And slowly, quietly, without even noticing, the soul falls asleep. The tragedy is not that you lost yourself. The tragedy is that you forgot you ever had a self beyond what the world taught you to be. From childhood, you were told what to believe, how to act, what is right, what is wrong, what is possible for you and what is not. You accepted these voices because you trusted them. But innocence becomes conditioning. Conditioning becomes identity. And identity becomes a cage so subtle, so invisible, that you mistake it for freedom. To wake up the soul, you must first dare to look at what you are carrying. Take a breath, a long, deep, honest breath, and feel the weight you've been dragging behind you for years. Some of it is fear, fear of not being enough, fear of disappointing others, fear of stepping out of the expectations built around you. Some of it is belief, rigid, ideas about life, about love, about yourself, formed long before you had the wisdom to question them. Some of it is identity, a name, a title, a role that slowly became a prison because you forgot it was supposed to be temporary. The soul cannot wake up under the weight of what is borrowed, because the soul is pure truth. It cannot breathe inside lies. It cannot shine behind masks. It cannot rise when buried beneath fear. Awakening begins the moment you decide, even quietly, even trembling, to let go. Let go of the belief that you must please everyone. Let go of the fear of being misunderstood. Let go of the identity that tells you who you should be. And feel, just feel, how something inside you suddenly becomes lighter. Dropping the borrowed is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of remembrance. You are not rejecting the world. You are reclaiming yourself. You are peeling away everything that is not you, so the real you can finally breathe. There is a moment in this process, a sacred moment, when you realize that what you thought was you was simply a collection of borrowed thoughts. And beneath that collection, beneath the noise and fear and conditioning, something timeless was watching everything. Something silent, something aware, something infinitely alive. That is your essence. Your essence is not your name, not your past, not your achievements, not your failures. Your essence is the stillness that has remained unchanged through every experience of your life. It is the consciousness that has quietly observed your joys and your sorrows, your rises and your falls. It is the part of you that has never been broken, never been afraid, never been incomplete. When you return to this essence, you feel a freedom that words cannot describe, a freedom so deep it brings tears, or laughter, or silence, a freedom that feels like coming home after wandering for lifetimes. As you drop what is borrowed, something miraculous happens. For the first time, you taste your own energy, your own truth, your own presence. You begin to act from a place of inner clarity instead of outer pressure. You begin to choose based on intuition instead of fear. You begin to live with a kind of authenticity that feels like breathing for the first time. And in that authenticity, the soul wakes up. It rises like a long-forgotten flame finally being fed. It expands like a bird set free from a cage. It glows with a radiance that has nothing to do with achievements, success, or recognition. The awakened soul is simply you, unmasked, unconditioned, unafraid. Take a moment, pause, feel into the center of your chest. Feel that quiet presence. That is what is real. That is what has always been you. And the more you return to it, the more the soul comes alive. Life becomes luminous the moment you stop living mechanically and start living moment to moment, fully aware. But most people move through life like sleepwalkers. They wake up and repeat yesterday's patterns. They speak words they don't feel. They follow routines they never question. They breathe that they do not truly live. Days pass, weeks pass, years pass, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet ache begins to whisper that something essential is missing. Not because life is lacking, but because awareness is missing. When you live mechanically, everything becomes dull. Even beauty becomes invisible. You eat without tasting, walk without noticing the sky, speak without meaning, listen without hearing. Your mind is always running ahead, planning the next moment, pulling you away from the moment that is already here. And in this hurry, in this unconscious rush, life slips through your fingers like sand. Pause for a moment. Take a slow, conscious breath. Feel how different this breath is from the automatic ones you take all day. This is the beginning of living with awareness. Awareness adds color to life. It awakens senses that have been numb, feelings that have been suppressed, insights that have been waiting. When you live moment to moment, you begin to see that even the smallest things carry a spark of magic. The warmth of sunlight, the softness of your own breath, the quiet rhythm of existence around you. Life becomes luminous not because something outside changes, but because you are finally present enough to see what has always been there. Living mechanically is easy. It requires no courage, no presence, no sensitivity. It is simply repetition. But living with awareness demands that you show up for your own life. It asks you to feel deeply, to see clearly, to respond consciously instead of reacting out of habit. It asks you to be here, not lost in memories, not trapped in worries, but fully rooted in this very moment. And this moment is the only real moment you will ever have. When you bring awareness into your everyday actions, everything transforms. A sigh. MPL walk becomes meditation. A conversation becomes connection. A breath becomes gratitude. Even pain becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. Awareness turns life into a living, breathing miracle. The luminosity does not come from achieving more. It comes from being more present, more open, more alive. Living with awareness means you start noticing the difference between the mind and the moment. The mind wants to drag you toward the past or push you into the future. The moment invites you to rest in what is. When you accept this invitation, even for a few seconds, something inside you lights up with clarity. You feel grounded, you feel real, you feel awake. This is why children seem so magical. They live fully in the present. They see wonder in ordinary things. They touch life with innocence and curiosity. And that purity of perception makes everything luminous. You have not lost this ability. You have only forgotten it. Awareness brings it back. Try it now. Look around you slowly. Notice something you overlooked 1,000 times. Feel its presence. Feel your presence. In that simple act, something shifts. Somewhere inside, a light switches on. Living moment to moment does not mean abandoning your responsibilities. It means bringing your whole being into whatever you are doing. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you speak, speak with presence. When you listen, listen with your whole heart. Awareness sharpens your senses, calms your mind, and opens your soul. Life becomes luminous when you stop rushing through it and begin savoring it. When you stop surviving and start truly living. When you stop existing in the shadows of thought and step into the radiance of presence.